Hey guys, this is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems. Thank you for once again coming back to view my channel. If you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, hey y'all. If you have not already done so, what are you waiting on? Go ahead and hit the subscribe button, like this video, share it to your social media platforms, your text messages, your group chats. And last but not least, I thank you all so much for the support on my channel, on my TikTok, on my Instagram. It is much appreciated as we are continuously waking up the people of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, with that being said, I uploaded a video yesterday that was about 3 hours long, making the Igbo, Iberu, and Hebrew connection. So now what I'm going to be doing is making shorter videos because I know everyone's not going to watch all 3 hours. So on today, we're just going to jump straight into it and get into who the Igbo call their Most High. And we're just going to share some names, some breakdowns, and a little belief systems and make it nice and to the point. So with that being said, just as a refresher, we know that the Igbos have oral tradition of having a predecessor by the name of Iri, and they are located in the east of Nigeria, this particular tribe of the Igbos. The Igbos have many amongst them. Some are Israelites, some are Canaanites, and you also have some Edomite factor amongst them as well. They are known to worship in a cave, Mother Goddess. That's another video that I'll go into. But the Igbo come from Eber, who was the son of Shem. When the British went into West Africa, they started identifying the Igbo as Hebos, Heebo. This is why when you look into the Americas and you look at the posters during the transatlantic slave trade, it said we have Hebos for sale. Every African American has about I don't want to say every, about 60% of every African American has at least one Igbo ancestor. The Igbos played a major role not only in the slave trade but also in being part of the Sephardim. The Igbo history goes deep. They were not only brought over here during the Atlantic slave trade, but also in 1492 into the Caribbeans. This thing goes very deep. If you look into the Caribbeans, the Haitians have a saying in Creole that says that they are Igbos. Now, there are many, many tribes in Haiti, and all of them are not Igbos. There are also Igbos in Jamaica, and there are many tribes in Jamaica as well. This is why it's important to know that Hebrews are not just specific to Israelites, and we're going to touch in on some of the Canaanite factors amongst the Igbos as well on today. So let's get straight into it. Let's talk about CHUKWU. Gonna come off the screen completely. So to my fellow Igbo brothers and sisters, please excuse my English accent. I apologize in advance. Okay, so CHUKWU is the supreme being of Igbo spirituality in the Igbo Pantheon. CHUKWU is the source of all the other Igbo deities and is responsible for assigning them their different tasks. The Igbo people believe that all things come from CHUKWU, who brings the rain necessary for the plants to grow and controls everything on earth and the spirit world. They believe that CHUKWU is undefinable, omnipotent, and omnipresent, supreme deity that encompasses everything in space and space itself. So linguistic studies suggest that the name CHUKWU is basically a derivative of chi, which means spiritual being, and uku means great in size. So let's go ahead and get some scripture on how some believe that the Most High is omnipresent. Everyone does or doesn't believe that. It's a lot out there as far as the belief system. Some believe that the Tower of Babel, when man was building up this infrastructure to go to the heavenlies, and they were on one accord, speaking one language, so on and so forth. That if the Most High was all knowing, he wouldn't have had to say, let's go down there and see what's going on. I'm not saying that's what I believe. I'm just addressing some doctrines. So let's continue and get into the Bible verses that they use to align themselves as Hebrews, far as their beliefs. Isaiah 40:13 through 14. Who has directed the Spirit of the Lord, or as his counselor has informed him? With whom did he consult, and who gave him understanding, and who taught him in the path of justice, and taught him knowledge, and informed him of the way of understanding? Job 21:22. Can anyone teach God knowledge? Is that he judges those things on high? So we get the point, right? We all know the scriptures. Psalms 147:4. He counts the number of the stars. He gives them all names. So this is just talking about Luke 12:2, Matthew 10:30. Let's jump back into who the Igbos go further into to explain how they feel about the names that are being used in connection with the Most High, as well as with his son. So as I was stating on yesterday, I have a couple of people that I know who live in Africa, and one that I'm speaking about specifically lives amongst the Igbos, and she took the oath, so to speak, about going into further into the belief system of the Igbo. So if I can't find, because I don't want to hop around, there's so many different, there we go. So she goes into the belief system about the restoration with the names, the shaving of the head to take the vow of the Nazarene. They begin to explain their covenants and their viewpoints from a Hebraic standpoint. And so I'll put this down below. Let's talk about the Epiphany. Okay. Let's talking about Yeshua being in Igbo land. And we know that the Bible took place in Africa. This has been proven time and time again. So this is how they write Jesus Nazareth. Well, this is how it's broken down in the English. I'm going to scroll down to show you guys how they write it. So they believe that this is more so of a corrupted version, and that the restored version has Ichi in it. They're talking about Emmanuel, meaning man of above, and the ancient roots. So let's scroll down to see more. Here we go. They're talking about the Emmanuel factor and being the light of the world, meaning man of above. So this is how they say it's pronounced. CHWU, not Yeshua or Yeshua. CHWU. E meaning light, Chi, God, Uwa, universe. Paleo Hebrew. You see, this is the Igbo, this is the Hebrew. And so they're focusing on the Chi. Remember that we went into this yesterday's Ichi means husband or Lord. this thing. So I'm going to link this below. And so they have a law system called UA. So some ancient Igbos belong to the Israelite Society of Asiatic Brotherhood, who separated themselves in accordance to the scripture providence of Numbers chapter 6 to the service of obedience to the law of CHUKWU, Iki Abiambi only, in the face of worshippers of Baal, who in all generations tried to whittle down the influence of the law of God. And so this is getting into the priesthood. And so they are talking about them setting them aside to be sanctified, set apart. We're going to go further. This is their belief system, okay? They're talking about the rights of the Nazarene. And we know that Christ was a Nazarene. And so they're also saying that instead of Messiah, that it should be Omezi Allah. And we know that the Allah will bring us back to Hebrew. Allah, Elohim. And they said that it means restorer of the land. Of course, they have scriptures, Acts 1 and 6. And they're talking about how the Igbos have no king without CHWU. Okay, so they believe in the incarnation. We're not going to go into that. You see how they break it down to explain the tetranogram. And so when you begin to even look at how this looks in comparison to, I'm going to bring this in because we know they were worshiping in a cave. And, you know, I'm going to say that for the shorter video on that one. I'm going to say that to bring this in comparison. And so they began, they talk about the priesthood being under the Igbo, and they talk about leaving out of Egypt, and the ancient Igbos had kingdoms in ancient Babel, Sumeria, Hebron, Egypt, Israel, and modern-day Nigeria. Does this not coincide with the migration process of Abram the Hebrew? He came out of Ur of the Chaldean ancient Sumeria. We know that Shem and his predecessors were located at ancient Babel. And we know for a fact that Nimrod, the Cushite, was present during all of this time as well, which is why a lot of some Igbo do have Canaanite amongst them. And when you begin to look into the Hebrew and the Canaanites, you will see that the Nubians who came out of Cush, who came out of Ham, and the Amorites who came out of Canaan, and the Jebusites who were Hamites as well, were always amongst the Hebraic groups of Israelites, the Edomites, the Ishmaelites, the Moabites, and the Ammonites. We used to turn humanus because humans, because I'm not going, because only Negroes are the real humans on human earth. The reason some people feel that way, and I'm not saying this, is because when you begin to test the DNA of the Negro, of the Bantu, which literally means people of T, T or two can mean of, and so it can mean the people. And so whenever they say to the people, they're literally identifying us. And we'll go into this in some other videos. But when you test the DNA, we don't have any Neanderthal or Desonovan DNA on the inside of us. So there is another website that links their priesthood, Adama, back to predating Adam. You see they're going into the Nagas, which would be the Lion King. So when they use the word nigger to describe us, it's literally describing where we are from. Acts the second chapter describes Simon from being from Niger. Now, whether you believe he's a Hamite or an Israelite, that's up to you. But also, Negas literally does mean king. It means emperor. Let's be clear on that. They also describe his mother name as Amara instead of Mary or Maria. And this is an Semitic name. This is something that would lead back to Moorish or Mauritania. You can also link it linguistically to the Amiru or the Amorites, which are Semitic as well. And is in the scripture that says your mother was an Amorite and you. Okay, so let's the Arrow people. So this is what we are going to get into the priesthood. We spent enough on this page, and they just connecting this all to David. Also, I want to make sure that we understand why they are under Melchizedek. That's who they are. Let me see. They're under the Melchizedekian priesthood. And the reason being is because of the split and the priesthood not keeping their charge. So we're going to go into who Melchizedek is. Now, some people believe that Melchizedek was an actual deity, worshipped as Zedek, which would represent Jupiter. That's something I'm not going to delve super deep into. So when we get into the Midrash, which is the explanation of scripture and exegesis of scripture, we will see when it says that Melchizedek began to hand down, acted as a priest, and handed down Adam's robe. And this is why the Igbo say that their priesthood goes all the way back to Adam because of this. It is stated that, well, it's supposed by some that he was born circumcised and that his school or the Ruach HaKodesh was one of the places where it manifests. Also says that he is identified with one of, we're not going to get into the three horsemen, but they identified him with Shem. Some people identified him with Shem. So does the Igbos. So we're going to, I'm going to link down below some scriptures on the ZADOK priesthood to explain exactly what the role of that priesthood was in this time. It's important to know that the Levites did not keep their charge, although the Levites still had some type of role, and they will continue to have some role when the kingdom comes. But the Zadoks are from the lineage of the Levite as well. And they're the ones who kept the charge of the Most High. And we see this set up when they became the 24 elders that we see in the book of Revelation. So in the Dead Sea Scrolls, they are portrayed as the sons of Zadok, the priest. And so in the Dead Sea Scrolls, actually Zadok, Melchizedek is also looked at as some sort of deity as well. And so we see that it's talking about in the first temple and following the building of the second temple that the priesthood began to be instituted through the sons of Zadok. This was found in Ezra, Nehemiah, and this this era was affected by Zoroastrianism. Um, and so they used, I know the Levites for sure used the oracle. They used Urim and Thummim to begin to see how to judge the people of the Most High. Now, we do have to touch on the fact that Zadok and Melchizedek, this was in Jerusalem. This was pre-Israelite when the Canaanites were in Jerusalem, okay? And so the Jebusites were in Canaan at this time. That cannot be denied, and we will not look over it. We have to face the fact that the Most High has been worshipped in the Near East by multiple people, and that he was worshipped by the sons of Noah, and that everyone went off into doing what it is that they so desired. So let's look into El, who CHWU would be equivalent to in the Hebrew Bible. So El is a generic word for God. Now, the Igbos do not believe in using the word God because they believe it's pagan. And truth be told, the word God, GAWD, definitely goes back to a Germanic origin, which means a false deity. These are facts. And so El was a generic meaning. It could be for any god. You see Hadad, Moloch, YHWH. And this is why when people say the Most High, it means absolutely nothing, because the Most High is an epithet of who our power is, which is why you need to attach a description, a location, and a people group. So when you see your favorite people getting up and thanking the Most High, they're just talking about whatever power is in control of the region and their blessings at that point. So we see that Abraham accepted the blessing of El when Melchizedek, the king of Salem. And so we should know the story. I just want to touch on this so that we can even look into the fact that the Igbos had some Jebusites amongst them as well. And this is how you historically prove the culture of these people, by linking in other people's group in congruence with, in conjunction with scripture. And we're going to remember some of the Jebusites. So let's see if there are any Jebusites amongst the Igbo. Look at here. The IJEBU or JEBU or JEBU was a Europe, and this is why I said before that although some of the Europe identified themselves as Europe, then Ephraim, some of them are Jebusites or Canaanites, and we see this right here. The IJEBU lived amongst the Igbo in a town in Nigeria. And so there was also a JEBU war on the West Coast in the JEBU war undertaken by government. Okay? So that's what we have for that. Now, let's look into just a little bit more concerning the Eru and actually let's go here first since he broke down chi. Now, nope, we're not gonna do that. I'll make that something else. It's a lot of information, you guys, and I just want to make sure that I'm being precise and putting out as much as I can while being very concise, precise. So there's a video that I'm going to link by Brother Lanny from First Resurrection of the Israelite Ministries concerning the IJEBU and the Igbo. Here we go. The Aero Confederacy. Now, the Aero people. Now, what I will say is that I'm not about to sit up here and say that the Igbos were doing everything that they said they were doing. We know that there has been anti-Semitic propaganda. We see that over when the Israelites were in Europe during the Dark Ages, during the expulsion of the Jews when they would accuse them of doing things. But we also know that the Israelites have gone into paganism, cannibalism, witchcraft, and so on and so forth. So the CHWU kingdom was set up as an economical, political, and oracle center, as it was the home of the powerful Long Juju oracle. Now, Juju is the name given by the British, the Arrow king, chiefs, and high priests. So it's very important to know that David operated as a king and a priest under the order of Melchizedek. And this is why he was able to go into the temple and do what he did. This is why when Christ was baptized by John the Baptist, the Levite, and inducted into the Melchizedekian priesthood, when the Ruach HaKodesh said, "This is my son, and this is my only begotten son, of who I am well pleased." This was very important because not only was he king of the Jews, that's what they named him, but he became high priest under this order. The Confederacy owed its origin to the rise of the slave trade. And so we know the Britons came in here. Okay, listen. The combination of slavery with what the British, who withdrew from the Gold Coast slave trade in 1806 and banned slavery in 1833, alleged that it was dangerous cannibalistic fetish, resulted in moral outrage and efforts to annex Igbo land. And so there was an Anglo-Arrow War. And so when they began to talk about the oracle, see if that one is in here. So you see it talk about the cannibalism and things of that nature. Oh, it's something called blood libel that I'll go into on another video that'll connect to here. Okay, I'm gonna just do this. And of course it knew exactly what I was looking for. A Benny Uk Ba B. Drum of the Creator God was an oracle of the Arrow Confederacy. We already went through that. And so it was used to settle cases, particularly those of murder, witchcraft, poisoning, and family disputes along the Niger Delta. It is also alleged that some of these were falsified. And this is because the British came in bribing people with money and different things of that nature. And there were always tribal wars amongst the Hebrews. So the area around the shrine of Ibenini Ukpabi and the cult monument of Kamalu includes a sacred altar, a 6 feet gully that takes people to the temple, and a waterfall that has been called the Long Juju slave route of Arachuku. So we know that ritual baptism took place in the Bible, mitzvahs. So there was also the throne of judgment, the dark presence, the holies of holies. Y'all don't need me to pull out scriptures concerning the holies of holies, right? We don't need to do that. Y'all good? Those found guilty walked into dark tunnels, and those found innocent went back to their relatives. Other features included a hill of rags, that is a place where the condemned were instructed to undress and leave their clothes, you know. So you guys see the oracle that was used. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, of what I'm speaking of biblically. So some say that they were stones, and one, I'm going to pull up the article so we can read it. Alf and Tal. Urim meaning light, knowledge, wisdom, and Thummim means wholeness, completeness, prosperity, integrity. But let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Look at this. There is a picture that I'm going to try to find. It's of an Hebrew with this in a boat from quote unquote slavery times. So we see that this was attached to the ephod. And so Urim means light and Thummim means uncertain possibilities. That the meaning is uncertain. It possibly means perfection, okay? This was worn by our high priest. And Thummim is rooted in what means innocent. And Urim has a root in what means cursed. And so we see this being used in 1 Samuel. This is used amongst the high priest in the book of Exodus with the breastplate in connection with the ephod. David requested the ephod. This is in connection with the Ark of the Covenant, so on and so forth. And so we see that this is just another way of connecting these people groups. You will also see that when you tie this back to the area that they came from, this was used amongst Murdoch with the tablets of destiny. And I'm going to stop right there because that can get very, very deep. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and that you learned more on today about the Igbo tribe of West Africa. And this is some deep digging that I encourage all people in the diaspora to start doing some research into. We cannot know who we are with knowing what we were called before we were here. Now, would it be amazing if all of us knew what tribes we came from before we came here, and some of us were already here because at once upon a time the world was connected, and Negroes as well as Moors, it gets deep, built just about everything and influenced the entire world. Now, with that being said, this is Jacolia of Jacolia Gems signing out. Like the video, comment, share to your social media platforms, as well as subscribe. Thank you, guys.